ASP.NET 2 where they made this programmable. So that's what we're going to look at next. We're going to go in here and we're going to look at how you program this. Now, I want to show it to you on slides first because in my example code I've got it split out in several areas. Well, I want to show you this very quickly. First of all, you have to make your variable. You have to use the configuration namespace, go out and get your information. The interesting thing on this is now you have access to pretty much everything in your config files. Notice I said files. Any trailing off of the root web config file, you get that information too. Then you get your section information. And then you say, hey, I want to protect this section and pass it in a string with the provider name you're going to use. And then you save it. That is all you have to do. Let's see that happen. Let's see that happen. So, first of all, I want to kick off a debug session so that it'll work. I've got this little piece of code set up so that it only works if you're logged in with host access. Now let's start up. Don't you love nice, slow demonstrations where you can take your time in sunny Florida? There we go. And of course, I'm using the password we always say never use for this demonstration. We come in here to this demonstration. We're going to go into the encrypt section, and I've got this over in the settings section. And it hits our debug. So the first thing we did was we dimensioned our config variable. It stopped it here because it doesn't stop on that. We go to the next one. We actually use the web configuration manager and get the config. I'm going to step into that because I want to show you the watches. You see here you have all of your information out of your web.config file. It is available to you right there in your coding. I'm going to go ahead and run it because since it's just pulling up the screen, that's all it does. In the config section, as we saw in the settings program earlier, you can put your own settings in here. I'm only going to check the configuration strings. Now, when you go and you look at the default code, you're going to see I'm storing nothing in a database. All we do is we go out and we look at the web.config file and see what's encrypted and display it accordingly. So here we're saying we're going to encrypt the connection strings. We're going to leave the app settings unencrypted, and there's several other sections that you can encrypt. I'm going to update it. We hit our stops just like we did before, but now we're also going to hit the one down here in the section so that we get the section of the config file we're working for. Run it a little bit further, and we come to down and it says, is it protected? I've got a little function just to check that. It says, no, it's not. So we're going to call the protect section with our provider and save. That's all we're going to do. Bingo. And it says, hey, something's changed in your web.config file. And we can go and look at the web.config file, and sure enough, it has been encrypted. So it's simple enough to do that. How am I doing on time? Okay. So we have this right here. So we can do the same thing on the we can do the same thing with the app settings. Oh, wait a minute, I'm still running. We can do the same thing with the app settings. And if we go back to the web.config file, we see that the app settings is also encrypted. Now, let me ask you a question. If you do this, what happens when you want to update one of those sections? Decrypt it. Well, you know, you think about that, and it depends on how you do it. You know, it's very common to do things the way we're used to doing things. It's very easy to do things we're used to doing. And a lot of times when we want to edit or change or add something to our web.config file, we just load it as an XML file, parse through it, save it, and put it back, right? Folks, you need to stop doing that. if you use the config section, you can do everything you need to do that you're supposed to do. Not everything, I know, but you can write straight back to it, depending on a couple of things. Okay? Obviously, there are some security settings that have to be set which allow you to write to it. But in the case of these, I'd like to show you something here. If we come in here now, and we come over here to my next demo, we're going to add some connection strings. So let's look at that code real quick first. It's very simple. All we're going to do is when we click the button, we're going to check a section. If the connection string section has a new connection string, then we're going to remove it. If it doesn't, we're going to add it. We're going to take the connection string object, go in, load the server, the connection string, load the provider name and put a name on it, and save it straight into the config file, even with it encrypted. So here we go here, we do this, and we say, hey, we're going to, oops, wrong one. We're going to add the connection strings into the configuration file. It says, hey, what happened? Okay, we go back in here and look, it says something changed. Okay, fine, let's go look at our web.config file. Oops, it's encrypted, we can't read it. Well, let's jump out there real quick and decrypt it. Should have turned off debug for this. Okay, what's that? I've lost myself. There we go. And you'll notice that it decrypted the connection string setting, and our new one is in there. Our new connection string. My new connection string. The same works with the app's connection string. Now, everything doesn't work that way. And one of the things that you need to think about doing once you're hardening your site is you need to set your web.config file where it's not modified easily. Okay? You need to think about things like that. And for that, I really suggest that a beginning point for everybody, there is a white paper up on the .NET Move website on hardening your sites, and I'll give you the address to that in the slides in a minute. But the idea is, here you can actually do these things very easily, simply by using the built-in stuff in the in the configuration namespace. Now, there are some things that this gives us and it doesn't give us. For instance, I want you to think about something. If you have it encrypted, it saves people that might grab your web.config file or look over your shoulder. But if you think about it, encrypting it here only encrypts it in the web.config file. Once the application gets it, it's already decrypted it. It's open and available to everybody. We have, whether it's encrypted or not, when you go and get the connection strings, whether it's encrypted or not, you're still going to get the connection string within your application. So this is the reason that it is so important that you have non-routable IP addresses within your config, and then possibly use Windows authentication for your SQL server for your data connection strings. That way you're not giving away any additional information. If you need to encrypt it like this, you can. So far, I haven't run into any problems with this. I don't know that there's not some place that it will cause a problem. But I do know that there are some sections of the web.config file that you cannot encrypt. Let's look at a couple more things here real quick before we run out of time. Oh, I missed this slide. The only difference between protect and unprotect is this one line when you're using the programmatically encrypting and decrypting. Why not encrypt all of web.config?